It was just all of the clues, from a wedding. There was a wedding, and at the wedding, the first bomb blast exploded. And after that explosion, in the course of the burials and packing of the corpses, the second bomb blast, bomb exploded. And there was another one at a distance. That is all in the same street, but at a distance. We cannot ascertain the number of deaths for now because we keep getting reports of dead people. But just from the burial of one of them, yesterday we lost 2 here and 1 at the teaching hospital. But those that are dead now cannot be ascertained.
Quite a very, very sad story in Borno State. Now, in the meantime, the President, Bola Tinubu, has condemned Saturday's bombing in Borno State, describing it as a desperate act of terror. On the day, 18 people were killed when 4 suicide bombers set off improvised explosive devices in Gwoza at the northeastern part of the state. Hours later, the presidency issued a statement commiserating with the victims' family as well as the Borno State government. In a statement by the president's spokesperson, Mr. Ajirin Galali, President Bola Tinubu describes the attack as desperate acts of terror and a clear manifestation of the pressure mounted against terrorists and the success achieved in degrading their capacity to launch offensives. President Tinubu assures that such isolated cowardly act will not go unpunished under his leadership. And away from that, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party has described the level of insecurity in the country, saying we may be approaching a failed state. He said this in Port Harcourt while acknowledging the efforts of government. He believes more can be done to curb insecurity and calls for the release of the IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu.
Nigeria, we have a situation where our teaching hospitals are collapsing. Our national hospital is collapsing. If you see the president in America become sick, he goes to an ordinary hospital. If you see the prime minister in Britain become sick, he goes to an ordinary hospital. Because they are people of conscience. But here, our national hospital is collapsing. The equipment is going down. The budget this year for it is less than 2 billion. But the budget to keep a particular building where the occupants don't go to hospital here is costing us 20-something billion now. Because we don't have conscience and people of competence, we don't have a national library. Every country of the world have a national library. Nigeria as a country does not have a national library. Our budget this year for our national library is 980 million naira. But the budget of National Assembly Library is 15 billion. Because we have no conscience.
Well, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the last election, Mr. Peter Obi, he also spoke on the sidelines of that particular event where he called for the release of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. Okay, some of these issues are the issues we'll be exploring on the State of the Nation today on the program. We're being joined from our Abuja studio by former lawmaker, Senator Shehu Sani, joins us to make sense of the situation. Senator, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
For a while, we haven't seen this. So let's begin from security, which is the natural place for this conversation. Given what we've seen in Gwoza, suicide bombing, resurging again. It wasn't like this. There was a time it was prevalent. Now this has come back to the fore. And this time is multiple. From the stories we're hearing, there were even more than maybe 20 or about 30 women released to go and kill people and kill themselves. What do you make of what is developing in Borno State?
Thank you again for having me in your program. Well, first and foremost, the issue of suicide bombing or terrorism in the northeastern part of Nigeria, particularly in Borno State, has been with us for over a decade now. And everywhere in the world, Fighting terror is not a 24-hour operation that can come to an end from 1 to 24. To understand what is happening in Borno State, it's important to go through where the journey so far. If you can remember the killing of the leader of the Boko Haram, Mohammed Yusuf, sometimes in 2009-10, led us to where we are today. And during the time of Jonathan, our cities, particularly those in the north, were unsafe. Bombings in the mosques, bombing in churches, in supermarkets, in markets, in parks was the order of the day. Then came Buhari. Within Buhari's 8-year tenure, he inherited terrorism, and before he left the country but in the hands of terror and bandits. Now, under Jonathan, the cities was unsafe, and then under Buhari, rural areas now became unsafe. And it's no more about bombing, but it is about kidnapping, it's about killings, it's about slaughtering of farmers and attacking schools. And that was what was the case for 8 years. And then with the coming of this administration, it's what they inherited, but coming from a state, which is Kaduna State, if I'm going to make example, I will make example with my own very state. And all I know that in the last more than 1 year, there has been one school, which was a primary school in Kuriga, that was attacked in Chukwu local government. But within the period of Buhari, we have had attacks in Bethel Baptist High School. Students were kidnapped. Ransom was paid by parents. They sold everything they had. We had attack on Greenfield University in Kaduna. Students were kidnapped, and they have to pay over 200 million naira ransom. Federal School of Agric Mechanization in Mando within Kaduna City was attacked. The parents have to pay ransom. And there was attack on Polytechnic in Gidanwea, and then we had attack in Kaduna, Kaduna State Polytechnic. Even the Nigerian Defense Academy was attacked. And I can also remember that Kaduna-Abuja Road attacks and kidnappings almost became a daily tragedy for people who ply that road. And you can also remember the attack on the train in Kaduna. So for us, when I say that the situation is comparatively better now than it used to be, I back it up with statistics that we have on the ground. The bombing in Borno is a continuation of the terror activities of the Boko Haram group. And I believe that if you look at the local governments that have been under occupation or domination by terror groups, you will see that Goza at least has remained, while other local governments are liberated. I have seen the governor of Borno State most times visiting some of these local governments, and I have seen also the fact that some of these terror kingpins, in most cases, were eliminated, but you can't end terrorism within 24 hours. Some of these attacks by terror groups are something we have to live with until the time which we are going to succeed. But terror attacks by female bombers and other attacks on schools and crowded locations on soft targets are something we have been seeing for some time now. But it has gone down, but it has now happened. So it is a message to us that vigilance and continuous effort by our security forces is very important, and we shouldn't be complacent to think that when there is silence, it means everything is gone. Sometimes you can't differentiate between a sleeping snake and a snake that is dead. So in a situation like this, these are things we should expect, but there should be continuous vigilance to make sure that this never occurs again.
All right, before I go to a follow-up on that particular question, I'm kind of worried about, how worried are you about the future of the North when it holds some of the data that nobody wants to hold in terms of insecurity, out of school children, weaponization of poverty, I know that a particular data had come out where a couple of those states had highly dependent on facts, whereas they have loads of potential in terms of mineral resources, agricultural resources, agricultural possibilities, if you will. And when you look at some of these numbers we're looking at, everything seemed, or most seem to be pointing in that direction. Are you worried about the future of the North in the collective of the state of the nation?
You see, I come from northern Nigeria, particularly Kaduna State. And if there is any place that I will love to see people prospering and living in peace and harmony and being able to go about their daily business, is where I come from. But the situation in northern part of Nigeria today is a product of our failure of governance and leadership that has happened in this country for over 3 to 4 decades. Political power that ought to have been used by people who come from our own part of the country to improve on the economy, to better the lives of people, to address the problems of poverty, destitution, to also address the problems of underdevelopment in general, has actually not been utilized for such purposes. Yes, we have some of the richest businessmen and richest politicians in the country, but the level of poverty you have seen is a reflection of what leadership and the opportunity of power was used for. In all indices, the North lags behind. And then sometimes you ask, what has all this power been used for? That's why I think if any person will compare what is happening in the North to the southern part of Nigeria, you'll wonder if what has actually power been used. Power has been toxic to our people. It has not been used for the benefits of our people for a very long time. Look at the child mortality rate. Look at the out-of-school children statistics. Look at the poverty statistics in northern Nigeria, and then the perverse insecurity, banditry in the northwest, and then terrorism in the northeastern part of Nigeria. Educationally, the North has been backward, even from independence, but with efforts being done by the like of Sardauna and other subsequent leaders, at least there is some appreciable level of development, but we're still lagging behind. Now, to make things worse is the insecurity. Most schools in rural areas, rural northern Nigeria, have closed down as a result of activities of terror groups in both the northeast and northwestern part of Nigeria. Then we had someone who took over the reins of leadership from the north. There was so much hope and expectations that at least the issue of insecurity will be addressed, the issue of out-of-school children will be addressed, the issue of poverty will be addressed, but 8 years later, that was not the case. So to me, I think the North and our people need to do soul-searching. And if you want power, you should have an agenda, you should have a program, you should have policies, you should know problems and then solutions to such problems. This is what power should be used for. The situation in the North is not only a threat to the people of the North, but it's a threat to the people of the whole country. Take, for example, in Zamfara State. If you are kidnapped from Niger State, you are most likely going to be transported by bike to Zamfara State. If you are kidnapped from Kaduna State or Kaduna State, they take you to Zamfara State to get refuge there because it has become a hub, like a cesspool of terror groups in the northwestern part of Nigeria. The expectation by many people was that when there is an opportunity to have someone to take over the reins of leadership that comes from our own part of the country that understands our problem, that the problem will be solved. Then at a certain time in the history of this country, all the security apparatus, from the army, the navy, the police, the air force, the civil defense, even paramilitary groups like paramilitary institutions like customs, immigration, even prison service were all, and the DSS were all manned by Northerners. But what has come out of that? The situation is that it became worse. So the North has the potential of being the richest part of the country. We have the largest land mass, almost 65% of Nigeria. We have the population. We have an arable land. We have the best of vegetation you can think of. And we have resourceful people who are ready to produce for Nigeria and produce for the world. All that is needed is to harness that resources with the vision of a leader, which has failed. And I think this is where the solution needs to be found.
All right, let's that point you made, let's bring it to some conversations we've been hearing. When the former President Muhammadu Buhari was at the reins of power, there were major complaints about his lopsided appointment. Now you're alluding to the fact that all of those appointments, whether it's elective or appointment generally, hasn't really produced much. When you look at what is going on, it should have been better. And now they're also in the direction of the current President, Bola Tinubu. They're saying he's also towing in that direction, literally consolidating on what Buhari did in terms of lopsided. So they're mentioning places like the finance minister, CBN governor, some of the people, like 6 or 7 people he worked with in Lagos as commissioner, and all of these gentlemen who he works with today. And this is, if you want to look at it from the Constitution, section 14, subsection 3, which says everything must be distributed equitably. Is this a problem that we can solve in terms of appointment of people to really, really represent the spread of the different region and the different interests? Because it looks like everybody that comes carries his people.
Yeah, I think I will advise President Tinubu to be careful not to make the mistake of President Buhari. And I believe he is experienced enough to understand this situation. Under President Buhari, you have ministers that were appointed into office for a whole of 8 years. They were with him for the first tenure and then second tenure. There is no cabinet reshuffle, there is no removal, there is nothing. Even if there is removal, it sometimes takes a month, 2, 3, 4 months to replace a minister. That was the way the country was governed. Now, it is important for any person who wants to preside over a complex country like ours, a diverse country, a multicultural, multi-religious nation like ours, to take cognizance of the fact that if he is interested in result, then competence should be his watchword. They should appoint people who are competent, who can deliver, and who have the knowledge of where they are going to be assigned to. We had a minister of education who said he knew nothing about education, and he was appointed to serve, and then he was there. We have ministers of minister for FCT, minister for aviation, minister for this. They lasted for not just above that, but they also appoint people in different MDAs, where a tenure expires, and then they add 2 more years to you, and then when the 2 years is gone, 6 months is added, sometimes even 2 weeks. This is the way the country is governed. So to me, I think if a leader wants to succeed, the first thing he should do is that he must make sure that the people who are around him should have something to deliver in line with his vision, in line with his own focus and interest in terms of moving the country forward and delivering the services they were meant to do. Under Buhari, we have seen nepotism at its peak, where people are appointed into office and are left there even if they did nothing. So in the case of President Bola Tinubu, he's just 1 year in office, but I think he is there as a witness as to see how people that were appointed into office simply for the fact that they were loyalists and they delivered nothing, and the government ended up in jeopardy. If you can remember, what happened with the service chiefs? Service chiefs were retained in office despite their failure, and by retaining them, you destroy the career of those who are behind them for many years. Many officers were retired in order to appoint one person, and when that person is appointed and his time is due, he is still retained, and in the process, many officers are also, other additional officers' career are also been decimated as a result of that. So to me, I would say that If this country has to move forward, then we must treat the issue of competency as the qualification for appointment. Naturally, if you're a politician, the first people you will think of when you won an election is those who worked for you.
Senator Sani, if I'm a button.
Those who worked for you.
Yes. Yeah, if I'm a button, my apologies, because of time, so I can get as many questions in for you as much as possible. The reason I asked that question is to ask a follow-up direct question. We've seen visit. You've even tweeted at some point on that day that if the Daura visit is a Salah homage, that's okay. If it's a political mission, it's like trekking in the Sahara. Those were your words on your X handle. Is the North happy with President Bola Tinubu?
Okay. My tweet is to bring the attention of the northern political elite with regards to the situation we are on the ground today. This is a country of diversity, and people take seriously the choice of whoever is going to lead us. And it is wrong in a country like this for one part of the country to dominate political power forever simply because of its population or because of its size. Before you talk of your ambition, you should first of all talk of a nation. You talk of the unity of the country. There must be a country before you talk of your ambition. When I make that tweet, I'm not making specific reference to President Bola Tinubu, but I'm speaking in the principles of rotation of power. From 2015 to 2023, a northerner was in the helm of affairs, which is in the person of President Muhammadu Buhari. So it is fair and just that political parties in Nigeria should field only southern candidates for them to complete the whole 8-year tenure. There is nothing wrong with the PDP fielding Peter Obi or fielding Wabara or Ogwanyi, the former governor of Enugu State. And there is nothing wrong with APC fielding Bola Tinubu. But what I want the political North, the political elites in the North to know is that for the 8 years which Buhari has served as the president of this country, there has not been any significant political force from the South that challenged his leadership, and that it will be in the interest, if you are of the PDP, it will be in the interest of you to look at this equation and say that now is a time to rotate power. Whatever your political affiliation, people have the constitutional right, because the Constitution has not barred any person from contesting election. But if you want this country united, if you want this country in peace, if you want this country to continue to exist as an indivisible and indissoluble nation, I think it's important you take the issue of the principle of rotation of power very seriously. And that if we have a power being rotating from north to south, a lot of issues that have been brought up here will be addressed. For example, now, before the coming of Jonathan, there were a lot of agitations, violence, attack on pipelines, and so many crises in the south part of Nigeria.
All right.
But they have now seen one of theirs as the president, and now they feel that they are also part of this enterprise. They are shareholders in the Nigerian enterprise, and that they have equal stake like any other person. So it will be an act of magnanimity for those with ambition from the North to look at this cycle, whether they're in PDP, whether they're in Labour, whether they're in APC or any party, to say, okay, now let us give them. Then after, in 31, 32, and the North can say, now we're coming together. We failed to address our problem with the power we had for 8 years.
All right, Senator.
Now it's an opportunity. And these problems are real. For 8 years, we couldn't address the problem of Mambila Plateau, the Mambila hydroelectric power. We couldn't address the problem of dredging Niger and the Barrow port. We couldn't do anything about Ajakuta. Kaduna, Abuja road to Kano is still left uncompleted. And many things were left undone. We were worse of insecurity.
All right, Senator.
Poverty was its highest level.
All right, Senator.
So, yes.
Yes, so back again to the question. It's just a straight question. I see the build-up you did. Is the North happy with President Bola Tinubu, given the fact that people are speculating with the meetings they are seeing People are feeling like Arewa is closing ranks against him. Are they happy with the president?
Well, I think that question can be answered by the Arewa Consultative Forum or the Northern Elders or any person who has the command to speak on behalf of the North, which of course there is none. But for all I know is that generally in the country, people are feeling the pains of the economic reforms. There is poverty, there is hunger, there is hardship, but we have been assured that is the inconvenience of a construction site, and you cannot in any way qualify or determine or say this is the beauty of a building when it is still going under construction. So 1 year is still a time, there's still time. And I believe that not just the North, but in most part of the country, people are not happy because of the economic situation it is in the country. But it's a natural thing with reform. Reforms in Indonesia, in Singapore, in Brazil, in Argentina has happened, and people will be unhappy. But once the result comes with beautiful fruit, sweet fruits, people will change their opinion. So when you are building a house, there will be inconvenience. I believe this is what we are facing. So people in the North are not happy because subsidy has been removed and there's so much poverty. But if the government can address the problem of poverty as they have unfolded a program of conditional cash transfer and increasing wages, I believe that opinions will change.
Okay, Distinguished, I have to ask you because you're a voice. You've been a senator and all of that, so it's important we get your view to get the pulse of the area, not just in the realm of speculation. But I can't let you go without asking you what played out at the event a few days ago when Nyesom Wike came. I was very straight with you and Michael Zekome, the senior advocate of Nigeria. In fact, by paraphrasing what he said, your presence in the Senate, how much significance did it make in making Nigeria better? I don't know whether I had a chance to respond to him because you had talked about the fact that Abdulsalami Abubakar had called the rights activists who fought to restore democracy to say, come take power like the ANC did in South Africa, who are still at the reins of power. You refuse and you look back and say that was a big mistake. Do you have a reply to FCT Minister Nyesom Wike?
Wike is my good friend. I would have preferred to reply him in an event rather than on TV. And I think I have attended 2 events where he strategically placed himself to speak last and make sure that nobody replies him. And I believe that when an opportunity comes next, I'm going to take him on. But nobody can demean the struggle which we did to free Nigeria from military dictatorship. Michael Zekome was a patriot. If not for the struggle we did to disestablish a military dictatorship and restore democracy in Nigeria, people like Wike couldn't have become a local government chairman, a governor, or a minister today. He's a beneficiary of our struggle, the sweat and all that we have invested in it. And at a certain time, I was in Port Harcourt prison, and which serving a prison term as a political prisoner. And where was he at that very time? But I think what he said, though people have overblew it, what he said is that there is no, they are against in democracy. It's not only about condemnation and criticisms. And in my own case, he say, what is it? It's about what have we done in the Senate. He wasn't specific. He was talking in general terms. So I can't take that personally. But I will say that he is a beneficiary of the struggle which Nigerians have committed and dedicated their life to. And I hope he will understand. But I believe that next time we go to an event, since I know his formula of speaking last and then closing the chapter and everyone should go, it will never happen. He will certainly get a reply. You know me very well that I don't hold prisoners. And it's even later I learned that we are age mate. But I believe that he will get the next reply next time he tries that in any forum.
Distinguished Senator Shehu Sani, thank you so much for coming on the program. And now you will make me to be curious. Anytime I see you and Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, in the program, I'll be looking out for that reply. But I must thank you for coming. Thank you, sir.
You should expect it very well. You will see the best duel. Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on the program. I'll take a quick break. When we come back, continue the state of the nation. This time, we're looking at the issue of corruption and governance. Join us again.
cable. Great quality, now with the new look.
It is new, it is unique and of international standard. Maduka University. Maduka University, a modern university of international standard with modern facilities for learning, committed to training entrepreneurs across different fields of human endeavor, offers admission to students in different courses such as law, accounting, medical lab science,
cyber security, mechatronics,
mass communication, nursing, pharmacy, ICT, computer engineering, civil engineering, JUBE program, and a lot more. Maduka University is located in an environment of serenity, safety and security at Ekwebe Nsukka, Enugu State. For more inquiry, visit our website madukauniversity.edu.ng or call 0805-509-1802 or 0915-789-3107. Maduka University, the place for the transformation you seek.
See us we day like beans and rice. And the people, I will never leave your side. I will never ever. I dedicate my time forever. Time to you, my people. Even if the road be rough, I know mine. 'Cause together we shall stand.
Make we all come out on election day and vote Olumide Osaigbavo Akpata, Una guy, as governor of Edo State. He ready to change our story and bring better life for we and our Pikin them. Vote Labour Party, the party for Papa, Mama and Pikin. Make we vote well, oh. Oluji, confirm. Now you be our guy. Labour Party, forward ever.
Olumide Akpata.
The Honorable Minister, Federal Capital Territory, His Excellency Barrister Ezenwe Yesenwike, CON, and the Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Maria Mahmoud, heartily invites FCT residents to groundbreaking ceremonies and flag-off of the following projects in the FCT. Mabushi Bus Terminal, Monday, July 1, 2024, 11 a.m. at Mabushi. Kubo Bus Terminal, Tuesday, July 2, 11 a.m. at Kubo. Abuja Division of the Court of Appeal Complex, Akibiu, Abuja, Wednesday, July 3, 11 a.m. and Kwaitayebu Road in Kwali Area Council, Thursday, July 4, 2024, 11 a.m. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, CON, Senate President, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, CON, Speaker House of Representatives, and Chief Justice of the Federation, Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariola, GCON, FCT Administration, driving Mr. President's renewed hope agenda.
Welcome back. We're still talking about the state of the nation. We're being joined on the program by Mr. Kolawole Johnson. He's a public affairs, public policy analyst. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Johnson, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening.
Given the fact that people have died in Borno State, I may have to just have your take on that quickly before we go to other issues on the program, which is the concern about this resurgence of bombing, which I actually showed Senator Shehu Sani. Your quick take on it, sir.
It's sad, and well, it's sad. I don't think I want to speak much on that now. It's it's sad because we're a few weeks ago we warned and we said we shouldn't sleep. We should open our eyes and ensure that the nation is secured. I remember when I spoke, I think I spoke to one international television station, and we were talking on the Niger crisis, and I particularly said Nigeria should guard against threat along that border, knowing well that many of those insurgents, the terrorists will be driven into the country. So I think it's, again, another call for us to be proactive. You don't wait until things happen. We're very poor at that. We don't resolve issues when they are at the stage of issues. We wait for them to dovetail to crisis, and then we start, scampering for safety. I think it should be a call on the government, on the agencies, to please ensure that we are able to identify ahead and take steps ahead before they come on us.
Are you worried about the states of our nation?
Yes, I'm worried. I mean, you can't be a Nigerian and not be worried about the state of the nation. I mean, you should be worried, especially when we know that. See, I keep talking about the fact that there were warnings before now. Every single thing you see happening, from the economy to security, we warned. I remember 2015, 2016, 2017. We were taking on the issue of insecurity. Then I was saying that what we were ignoring in Northwest then, and later Benue. I remember then, when we were fighting on the Benue crisis, that there were officials in the government then who were like saying no manner of things against us, that we were being sponsored. And the fact is, the fact is that we won. That what was happening will soon become a national cake if we refuse to address it. Now, we also warned then that we may be having food crisis on our hands in a few years to come. Because Benue, of course, the food basket of the nation, go look at these axes, those states with these peculiar security issues. Many of those states ought to be contributing to the national food basket, but unfortunately, those who should be producing the food are lavishing in IDP camps. And you should be worried, because we saw the handwritings on the wall and we didn't do anything. Today we complain about the economy. The years were when we were spending everything we had. We were borrowing with all our fingers. We didn't know that we would get to this point today. So I'm worried because a lot of times these things are seen ahead, but we refuse to take steps.
So I want you to, since we're talking now, we've dovetailed into the economy, I want you to speak to an issue that came up at NET. The president had made some approvals, almost to the tune of ₦1 trillion, what they call the, I think, National Construction and Household Support Program. 50,000 naira grants to 100,000 families for 3 months, and then 155 billion, yeah, for assorted foods. That's what it's called. 10 billion for CNG buses in 36 states and the FCT. I could go on and on. There were other interventions in terms of construction in different parts of the country. Leaving out the construction part, let's talk about the intervention in terms of relief that the government is providing for people. Given what had played out with the humanitarian ministry and the corruption allegedly that we've seen play out in some of this sector, how far-reaching do you think this can be to cushion the impact of what is going on? Because the president says he will try his best, pending when things change, these interventions will come.
Jeff, the president, of course, will be worried about the state of the nation, knowing well that the people are disgruntled and the complaint is at the peak at this moment. He's probably looking for ways, not just probably, he's looking for ways to ensure that he's able to cushion the effect. And whatever this is termed, the construction or whatever. And we're told that it's going to affect agriculture and the construction industry. If we look at the last 3 years, the agricultural sector has been contributing, I think, about between 23–24% to the national GDP. Industry also has been contributing between 30–31%. From 2020, 2021, 2022. I think in 2020, agriculture did about 23% of thereabout. Same thing with 2021, and by 2022, it did around 3.7. The same with industry. So if you look at sectors that have been contributing about 54% to our national GDP year in, year out, of course, we should focus attention on them. Albeit, how do we focus that attention? I'll take you back to last year when the president was, setting up his cabinet. I was asked in your studios that where should we focus our attention more of these ministries? And I mentioned two: asset security, and not just the common one, economic insecurity. And I, explained this. I said, you come to the north, some asset, people are mining away Nigeria resources, and they are creating crisis along these areas so they can continue with that trade. You go to the part of the south and you understand what pipeline vandalization is doing to the economy. And you go to many areas in the country, people will plant in their farms, but some folks will get there with their cows and run over them. We have this insecurity across board that we need to address. Now, if we are going to focus on agriculture, no matter what we create to work for us, if you don't take care of the threat, of the risk around the agricultural, production line, I think we may not be achieving as much as we should. And it is so sad today that the food crisis is on us. Look at what they sell a tuber of yam today. We are not importing that. That is not answerable to dollar. Look at what, they sell tomato and all of these items. Is it that we can't grow them? Now, if you have them in surplus, certainly you can have the price at what it is today. The market will always respond, to equilibrium. If you have demand, outstripping supply, of course, you will have the price tilting, towards that side. But if you have enough supply, we are not likely to have what we have today. So beyond the fact that we want to start transferring money to individuals, let me give an example. If you give an household 50,000 naira today, they would likely not do anything with that money aside from consuming, that money. And if we are to move away from consumption to production, I would rather prefer that you give them the lump sum of either 150 or 200 or 300 that they can invest in something specific. Now, some years back, we queried not just the humanitarian agency, we queried again, the cash transfer. And we asked that they should please supply us with a register. Let us know those you have given this money in each of the state. It was so bad that they said they were feeding people during COVID. And we know over time that you can't trace these monies. And unfortunately, if we don't have this money we are spending, we are borrowing. Do you know the size of Nigeria debt now as we speak? We are borrowing this money. We should be careful to ensure that...
If I may butt in. Yes. If I may, my apologies, so that you land on your thought as well on this particular one. I know that our public debt is in the region of about 100 trillion. And it's a very difficult situation.
About 120
we're servicing debt. Our macroeconomic indicators are not in the best form. So my question is, as a build-up to that is, how far-reaching do you think this intervention will go? And do you really think it will get to the people?
Now, see, it is easier for us to sit in the public space and criticize every single move of the government. I think I rather want to maintain some decorum, to ensure that we have enough facts from this. But if we are judging from antecedent, of course, we can just conclude that this will just be another, effort in futility that may not achieve anything. But I want to give the government the benefit of doubt. If they will supply us with information, let's have the document. And we've been asking for budget performance report quarterly. Publish it. Publish, your payments, your receipt, everything that you've earned. Let's be able to appraise the government critically and at times come up with solutions. On this, I think it will be enough to tell the government to please, don't give money to people that we can't trace. Have a register that can be verified. Let it be published. Internet is there. You don't need to spend money on the newspaper to publish. Let's have it on sites where we can go and verify those you have given this money. Else, I think it will just be another effort in futility.
We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, Mr. Johnson, I have more questions for you. I'm not sure some people can remember, but not as if I want to ask a question particularly, but I know that there was a time you were always at the chambers of the Senate. The issue of the NDDC and what played out in that particular scene and what exactly is happening after all of that drama. We'll talk about that maybe briefly before we wrap up the show. Join us again.
It is new, it is unique and of international standard. Maduka University. Maduka University, a modern university of international standard with modern facilities for learning, committed to training entrepreneurs across different fields of human endeavor, offers admission to students in different courses such as law, accounting, medical lab science,
cyber security, mechatronics,
mass communication, nursing, pharmacy, ICT, computer engineering, civil engineering, JUBE program, and a lot more. Maduka University is located in an environment of serenity, safety and security at Ekwebe, Nsukka, Enugu State. For more inquiry, visit our website madukauniversity.edu.ng or call 0805-509-1802 or 0915-789-3107. Maduka University, the place for the transformation you seek.
And cable. Great quality, now with the new look.
The inaugural 2024 House of Representatives Open Week is here. The House of Representatives, in collaboration with its partners, Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, and the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, CAS, invites the public to its Legislative Open Week with the theme, Improving Inclusion Through Citizens' Engagement. Date, Wednesday, 3rd to Friday, 5th July 2024. Time, 10 a.m. daily. Venue, National Assembly Complex, Abuja. Special guest of honor, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Guest of honor, Senator Godswill Akpabio, President of the Senate. Host, Honorable Abbas Tajuddin. Speaker, House of Representatives. For inquiries, contact Dr. Jerry Wool on 0803-327-8068. Signed, Honorable Akin Rotimi, Spokesman, House of Representatives.
Welcome back, Mr. Kolawole Johnson. He's still with us to talk about the state of the policy and the state of the nation. We've been talking about some of the relief that the government has provided or has approved for provision and how far-reaching they can be and whether indeed it will get to the people. Mr. Johnson, thank you so much for staying with us on the program, joining us from our Abuja studio. My question before the break, or the highlight I gave before the break, I remember that NDDC drama that played out. I think that's where we got the soundbite of Honorable Minister, off your mic. I don't know what has come out of that. Maybe Nigerians will want to find out after, because the reason is simple. There was a podcast, Nokoyo Konobla, who was in charge of the Special Presidential Investigation Panel on Recovery of Public Property, had made yet another statement of the bogus things that people are stolen from the Nigerian state and nothing has been done. And we keep complaining that corruption is a big problem for us. But yet we see some of this panel set up, investigation set up, and nothing comes out of it. So my question is, how far with that investigation that was carried out with the NDC, and are we really serious about fighting corruption as we wind down?
Jeff, let me speak beyond NDDC and be generic in approach. The EFCC chairman said something, I think in Tunis some days back. He said about, over $88.6 billion leave the shore of Africa every single year via corruption and illicit financial flows. He also added that Nigeria, got some, success story in how we've been able to repatriate the Abacha loot. He did not add, however, that it was perhaps relooted. He also did not add how corruption has become not just endemic, but it can pass for a culture in Nigeria. Culture is a way of life. Let me give you the basic example. Today, if someone gets an employment somewhere and he's offered a salary of 50,000 naira, when he gets back home, maybe he's talking to his brothers or the parents, oh, this is the salary. The first question they will ask, that is too small, but is there any way you'll be making some other money there? The moment he says yes, they say, oh, go and take it. Those ways are probably corruption. Now, the biggest problem you have in startup in Nigeria, go and ask the entrepreneurs. I've set up businesses. It's corruption. People, if you close the doors against them from stealing from you, they will say, oh, that man is wicked. He doesn't want people to eat from them. From him. This thing is in our blood. Same way, when people get into government, in the entire mindset, it is time to take part of the national cake. We hardly go there for service. Now, let me be specific now and go back to the Abacha loot that the EFCC chairman mentioned. During the military era, of course, you saw corruption being, it was the era of institutionalization of corruption. OBJ came and attempted to bring EFCC and ICPC perhaps to fight corruption. We call them anti-corruption agencies. But at the root of that, go check what happened then. They became the instruments to fight political the political enemies of the government in power. You know what that did to our psyche and the psyche of the officials of those commissions? They also became political and sought. They were no longer fighting corruption per se. And you look at the fabrics of the anti-corruption agency today, so much that it was described by a U.S. agency that our anti-corruption agencies are ineffective, inefficient, and by themselves lack credibility. Why? Because the people there, they are from the same society that you and I come from. And so if you want to fight corruption, and the agency themselves, of course, the chairman just sacked some people. Go see what they did in my state, in Ondo State, in hotels. Now, the reason they were able to apprehend a few of them is that there was, of course, CCTV recording. On a normal day, they would have seized the memory card. Whatever evidence you could gather against them would have been removed. So the agencies themselves are facing credibility issue. Now let's go to the government side.
Okay.
The government side also.
Mr. Kololo, we have if you can land in 10 seconds.
From our leadership recruitment process. Oh, shit. Okay. The leadership recruitment process is a major problem. So much that when you come for election, people pay and you vote for them. When they get there, they are not looking for service. They are not servicing you at all.
Mr.
They are looking for how to fill
we're
their
totally out of time.
It is transactional.
I must apologize. So sorry. Kololo Johnson, Public Affairs Analyst. We're totally out of time. Thank you for coming on the program. Maybe some other time we'll explore that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Usongo. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Good night.
The Heritage for Life Foundation and Greenland Classics cordially invite you to the Heritage for Life Award concert and leadership discussion in honor of distinguished Nigerians. Date: Thursday, July 11, 2024 at the Buson Center, Onikon, Lagos Island, Lagos State at 5 p.m. under the distinguished chairmanship of Dr. Tunde Lemma. Host: Dr. Christopher Kolade, CON. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Governor of Lagos State. Mr. Aigbuji Imokwede. Distinguished awardees: Mr. George Itomi, Major General Olatilewa Amusu, retired. Dr. John Momo, Dr. Stella